Okay, so we are going to solve quadratic word problems. And then for each of the following, make sure you define the variable. That should be nothing new. Set up a quadratic equation and solve. Make sure that you check your answer or your answers. Some values might not work. There might be some restrictions. So we're looking for the first one. The square of a number increased by 2 times the number equals 8. Find the number. Well, let's use x to equal the number. If we set the equation up, it says the square of a number, x squared, increased by 2 times that number plus 2x is equal to 8. So all I need to do now is get this equation equal to 0 so I can factor and solve. So it becomes x squared plus 2x minus 8 equal to 0. Right, you got to bring the 8 from the right to the left by subtraction. This is an IAM problem. I should be able to factor this by x plus 4, x minus 2 equal to 0. When I drop my wall and I take my first factor, x plus 4 equal to 0, and I solve it, I'm going to get, let me bring this up a little bit, subtract 4, x equals negative 4. When I take the second factor, set it equal to 0, and solve for x, I'm going to get x equal 2. So let's go back to the question. It says the square of a number increased by 2 times the number is equal to 8. Find the number. In this case, there's actually 2 numbers. The answers happen to be both negative 4 and positive 2. And you could even check it if you wanted to, right? Because if we were to take negative 4 and we squared it, and then we increased it by 2 times negative 4, this becomes 16, this becomes negative 8, and that in fact is equal to what it's supposed to be. If we check the other value, which is 2, and we square that, and we increase that by 2, we get 4 plus 4, and that also in fact equals 8. Really, it should kind of say maybe find the numbers, right? Because there's more than one number that does that. Okay, take a look at the next one. The length of a rectangle is twice the width. The area of the rectangle is 50 square feet. Find the number of feet in the length of the rectangle. So we're looking for length and width, but we only need to answer about the length. So we need to kind of set up a let statement. Let x, in this case, be what we know least about, or the width. We know that twice x, 2 times x, equals the length. If you want to actually draw a picture, that's fine too, where this would be x and this would be 2x. And you know that the area of this rectangle happens to be 50 feet squared. Well, how do you find area? You have to multiply length times width. So what happens is x times 2x equals 50. When I multiply the left, I get 2x squared equal to 50. Set this equation equal to 0. 2x squared minus 50. Factor, GCF comes out. Realize that what's left in the parentheses is still a factorable. It's factorable by dots. Let me just bring this up. Come on up. Go, 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 go. So then I've got my GCF, x minus 5, x plus 5 equal to 0. Drop my walls. The GCF is irrelevant because there's nothing to solve for there. But x minus 5 equal to 0. Add 5 to both sides. X is 5. X plus 5 is equal to 0. Subtract 5 from both sides, and x is negative 5. So the question says, okay, well, find the length of the rectangle. Well, which one of these won't make any sense to use as a measure? And hopefully you realize negative 5 makes no sense. I can't have negative 5 feet being the measure of anything. So what ends up happening is x is 5, which we know, but it asks for the length. So it wants 2 times 5, or 10. The length is 10 feet. It didn't want both. It just wanted to find the number of feet in the length. Okay. The sum of the squares of 2 consecutive even integers is 164. Find the positive integer. We talked about consecutive integers way back when. We want even. It's still every other. We only need 2 of them. So x happens to be the first number. X plus 2 happens to be the second number. It wants the sum of the squares. So basically it's saying take the first number and square it, take the second number and square it, and the sum of those squares is 164. What you need to realize is what goes in the first parentheses is x. What goes in the second parentheses is x plus 2, right? So it's x squared plus x plus 2 squared equals 164. You need to remember that x plus 2 squared really means this, in which when you FOIL it out, you get x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4, or x squared plus 4x plus 4. That's just that second number that's squared. I need to realize that this first thing right here is just x squared. And then don't forget, you're equaling it to 164. All right, so the squares of those numbers is x squared plus 4x plus 4 equal to 164. Well, I notice that I've got like terms on the left-hand side. I really have 2x squareds plus 4x plus 4 equals 164. You need to set the equation equal to 0. So then when you look to set the equation equal to 0, what you're going to need to do is subtract 164 from both sides. So by doing that, you're going to get 2x squared plus 4x minus 160 equal to 0. This is going to be factorable by GCF. So pull out your GCF, which is 2. X squared plus 2x minus 80 equal to 0. You should be able to IM inside. So again, bring down your GCF of 2, x plus 10, x minus 8 equal to 0. You're going to set your factors equal to 0 so you can solve for your variables. The first parenthesis is x plus 10 equal to 0. When solved, x is negative 10. The second one is x minus 8 equal to 0. And after you solve it, you get 8. So the real question is what are they asking you to do? And they're asking you to find the positive integers such that the sum of the squares of the two consecutive integers is 164, which means you need to throw out this negative integer. You're going to keep the positive integer, which is 8, which means the first number must be 8. 2 more than that, or the second number is 10. Okay, so here's the last one. One leg of a right triangle exceeds the other leg by 4 inches. It means it's greater than the other by 4 inches. The hypotenuse is 20 inches. The hypotenuse is 20 inches. You need to find the length of the shorter leg of the right triangle. So go ahead and draw yourself a right triangle. What do you know? You know that one leg exceeds the other by 4, which means one leg you have no idea what it is. The other one is 4 inches greater. The hypotenuse is 20. Find the length of the shorter leg. So the idea is you go back to your Pythagorean theorem where a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C has to be your hypotenuse. A and b doesn't really matter where it is. Okay, so I keep getting disrupted. So let me try to finish this last problem up. So one leg of a right triangle exceeds the other leg by 4 inches. The hypotenuse is 20 inches. Find the length of the shorter leg of the right triangle. So if you exceed something, you're more than something. So I've got one leg being x, the other leg being x plus 4. Hypotenuse is 20. In terms of right triangles, hopefully you remember the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're saying the hypotenuse must be 20. It's the longest side. It's across from the right angle. The other two legs, x and x plus 4, can be interchangeable. So essentially what you're doing is a squared plus b squared equal c squared. Knowing that we called leg A x, we're going to call leg B x plus 4. And we're going to call leg C, or hypotenuse, it's 20. So what's easy for sure is this. X squared is x squared. 20 squared is 400. What we now need to do is figure out what x plus 4 squared is. Here's where you have to FOIL. So it's x squared plus 4x plus 4x plus 16. So when leg B gets squared, you get x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, so we now have this equation in which we've got some like terms that we can combine. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. So when we do that, we're going to get 2x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 400. I need to bring the 400 to the left-hand side because I want my equation equal to 0, not equal to 400. What comes out is 2x squared plus 8x minus 384 equals 0. In order to factor, I see that I have a GCF. I'm going to pull out my 2, and I'm left with x squared plus 4x minus 192 equal to 0. You've got to IM what's in there. Maybe a little bit harder to think about the numbers. Here's where you can use your calculator and figure out 192 negative divided by x is what? You go to your table of values. I can remind you how to do that in class if you don't remember. The numbers that actually do this, that add to 4, and multiply to negative 192 are positive 16 and negative 12. So then what we need to do is drop our walls. Remember, we're solving for the variables. The GCF2 is sort of irrelevant, not sort of, it is irrelevant to us. But if you take each of those factors, set them equal to 0 and solve, by subtracting 16 on both sides, you get negative 16. By adding 12 on both sides, you get positive 12. So there are two answers. There's supposed to be two answers. There's a quadratic. But we're looking for the length of a side of a right triangle. Well, can a length ever be negative? And the answer is no. It doesn't make any sense. So negative 16 is out. If I go back and I plug in some values here, if x is 12, well, this would be my short leg. If b is 12 plus 4, this becomes 16. But remember, it really is only asking me for the shorter leg. So the shorter leg then would be 12 inches. And that's it. Okay, so in order to be able to solve any of these word problems, you should be able to define the variable. What's the variable going to be? X equals a number, x equals a leg, whatever it might be. Set up a quadratic equation, set the equation equal to 0, factor, solve, and then go back in and say which answer, if any, both, neither, makes sense, and go from there. Okay, so good luck on the homework.